In the shadowed corners of human memory lies the story of Pedro López, a name etched in infamy as the monster of the Andes. His legacy is not of triumph or glory, but of terror and desolation, painted with the blood of innocence. The whispers of his horrific deeds echo through the Andean mountains, chilling even the bravest hearts. The mountains of Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru bore witness to unspeakable atrocities in the late 20th century. López's reign of terror was a nightmare that seemed to have no end, a horror story unfolding in the lives of unsuspecting young girls. These lands, once known for their breathtaking beauty, became synonymous with fear and dread. The monster of the Andes roamed freely, leaving a trail of despair. The darkness of his crimes is matched only by the murkiness of his motives. What drives a man to such depths of depravity? The question hangs in the air, heavy with the weight of unsolved mysteries. This essay seeks to unravel the strands of his twisted psyche, to shed light on the shadows he cast over countless lives. The legacy of Pedro López is not one easily forgotten. As we journey through his story, we grapple with the darkest aspects of the human soul. Pedro López was born into a world of violence and neglect in 1948 Tolima, Colombia. His life was marred by brutality from the very beginning. His mother, a prostitute, was his sole parent, often bringing home clients in the presence of her children. This chaotic household planted the seeds of López's twisted future. The streets became his playground, and survival his only friend. At the tender age of 8, López was expelled from school for sexual misconduct with another student. This incident marked the start of his descent into a life of crime. Homeless and abandoned, he wandered the streets, vulnerable to the predatory dangers that lurked there. It was during this time that López claimed he was abducted and raped by a man, an experience that forged an indelible scar on his psyche. He exhibited classic signs of a sociopathic personality, devoid of empathy and remorse. His childhood experiences stripped him of innocence and compassion, replacing these with a thirst for control and power over the helpless. López's early years are a testament to the destructive power of abuse and neglect. Understanding his formative years is crucial to comprehending the full extent of his darkness. Pedro López's reign of terror began in the 1970s, spreading across Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. His modus operandi was as chilling as it was effective. He preyed on young girls, often from impoverished backgrounds, who would vanish without a trace. López knew how to gain their trust, luring them with promises of gifts or help, only to lead them to their doom. The number of his victims is staggering, estimated to be over 300. Each crime was meticulously planned, carried out with a cold precision that defied comprehension. He would often kill during daylight, hiding in plain sight among the bustling crowds of marketplaces. His ability to remain undetected for so long speaks to his cunning and the systemic failings of law enforcement at the time. The locations of his crimes were as varied as his victims. From the bustling streets of Bogotá to the remote villages of the Andes, nowhere was safe from his grasp. His movements were unpredictable, leaving investigators baffled and communities in terror. Each new disappearance sent ripples of fear through the towns, a constant reminder of the lurking danger. Each victim of Pedro López was a young girl, full of life and dreams, snuffed out before their time. Their stories are woven into the fabric of his monstrous legacy, haunting reminders of innocence lost. These girls, mostly aged between 9 and 12, were often the eldest daughters, burdened with responsibilities beyond their years. They became the perfect targets for López's malevolent intentions. One such story is that of Maria, a 10-year-old from a small village in Ecuador. She was last seen collecting water from the river, a daily chore that ended in tragedy. Her disappearance sent shockwaves through the community, her fate unknown until López's confessions years later. Maria's story is just one of many, each a testament to the horror that befell these young lives. The families left behind were shattered, their grief mingled with anger and helplessness. They searched tirelessly, clinging to hope even as days turned into months, and months into years. For many, the uncertainty was the hardest part, the not knowing. Their daughters vanished into thin air, leaving behind only memories and unanswered questions. Section 5. The intense investigation leading to his capture. The hunt for Pedro López was one of the most intense investigations in the history of South American law enforcement. As the disappearances continued, pressure mounted on authorities to find the monster responsible. The investigation was marred by challenges, from jurisdictional issues to limited resources. Yet the determination to bring him to justice never wavered. Authorities in Ecuador first began to suspect a serial killer was at work in the late 1970s. The sheer number of missing girls pointed to a sinister pattern. However, lack of communication between regions and countries hindered the early stages of the investigation. It wasn't until López was caught attempting to abduct another victim that the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. His capture was as dramatic as the crimes he committed. In 1980, a failed abduction led to his arrest in Ecuador. The victim's family, along with local merchants, managed to apprehend him, holding him until the police arrived. This brave act marked the beginning of the end for the monster of the Andes. As investigators finally had their man, once in custody, López's facade began to crumble. Section 6. Shocking revelations from his confessions. Once apprehended, PedroLópez's confessions were as shocking as they were disturbing. He spoke with chilling detachment about the hundreds of girls he had lured to their deaths. There was no remorse in his voice, no hint of the horror his words conjured. To López, each victim was merely another tally in his grotesque game. The details of his confessions were gruesome and haunting. He described his methods with an unsettling clarity, recounting how he gained the trust of young girls before leading them to isolated locations. Once there, he would commit unspeakable acts, leaving their bodies in shallow graves. His confessions painted a picture of a man who took pleasure in his cruelty, a predator without conscience. López's statements also revealed his deep-seated hatred towards women, stemming from his traumatic childhood experiences. He saw his victims as symbols of the mother who had abandoned him, projecting his rage onto the innocent. This twisted logic provided a glimpse into the terrifying mind of a serial killer, offering a chilling explanation for his monstrous deeds. Section 7. The chilling legacy and lingering questions. PedroLópez's capture and confessions were not the end of his story. In 1998, he was released from a psychiatric hospital in Colombia on good behavior, a decision that sparked outrage and disbelief. The monster of the Andes, responsible for the deaths of hundreds, was now free to walk among the living. This release marked the beginning of a new chapter in his dark legacy. The decision to release López was controversial, surrounded by legal loopholes and inadequate mental health evaluations. It exposed the systemic failures in dealing with serial offenders, raising questions about the justice system's ability to protect society. The thought of López roaming free sent shivers down the spines of those who remembered his reign of terror. To this day, López's whereabouts remain unknown, fueling speculation and fear. The uncertainty surrounding his fate adds another layer of horror to his legacy, a ghostly presence that lingers in the collective consciousness. Section 8. Conclusion. The impact of his crimes. In conclusion, the story of PedroLópez, the monster of the Andes, is one of horror and tragedy. His reign of terror left a scar on the heart of South America, a wound that will never fully heal. The impact of his crimes extends beyond the lives he took. It reaches into the homes and hearts of those who live in constant remembrance of the horror. López's legacy is a dark testament to the depths of human depravity. His ability to evade capture for so long and the subsequent failures in the justice system serve as a stark warning of the potential for evil to flourish unchecked. The haunting tales of his victims remind us of the fragility of innocence and the cost of inaction. The questions surrounding López's release and possible whereabouts remain unanswered, casting a long shadow over his legacy. The story of PedroLópez is not just a chapter in the annals of crime, but a call to vigilance and justice. The monster of the Andes reminds us that true evil can exist in the most unsuspecting forms, lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike.